And tonight we are doing a deeper dive. The Sinaloa cartel is one of many cartels, but it is the top dog when it comes to bringing fentanyl to American streets.
The Sinaloa cartel is one of the largest criminal organizations in the world. It transports massive amounts of drugs into our country and is in fact the lead importer into our country of fentanyl.
Interestingly, the cartel does not operate with one commander-in-chief. According to a May DEA report, it operates as 4 criminal groups, and each faction has a different leader. Just recently, the cartel's top assassin was extradited here to the U.S. The man known as El Nini is accused of working for the faction led by the sons of the kingpin El Chapo. Now, the former head of international operations for the DEA called El Nini a, quote, complete psychopath. El Nini faces drug trafficking and weapons charges, and according to the indictment, El Nini led a team that took captured rivals to ranches for torture and execution and fed some of those victims, dead and alive, to tigers. Now, one of the men El Nini worked for, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, also known as the Mouse, was also extradited to the U.S. back in September. The Mouse is one of the sons of El Chapo, and he now faces drug trafficking and money laundering charges. He is pleading not guilty. 2 of his brothers, also sons of El Chapo, still wanted by the feds today. And before he got busted, El Chapo, of course, was one of the most powerful drug traffickers in the world. The DEA estimated that he was as rich, as influential as Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar. Now, in 2019, he was found guilty of a slew of criminal charges, all stemming from his time leading the Sinaloa cartel. He was sentenced to life in prison and is currently serving that sentence at a supermax prison in Colorado because he is known for repeatedly escaping. Now, back in 2012, his daughter Alejandrina Giselle Guzman Salazar also had a run-in with U.S. law enforcement. She was charged with fraud and misuse of visas after being arrested at a California border crossing. She was deported after pleading guilty in federal court to possession of a false visa. And she recently made headlines for her lavish wedding to a man with links to the crime underworld and a Mexican Catholic church, which outraged many of the faithful. So the question tonight, what is it like to legally represent the cartel? Tonight, we are welcoming in the attorney who represented El Chapo's daughter, Jan Ronis. He's a criminal defense attorney who has extensive history with representing cartel members. Jan, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
What have you learned about cartels through your experiences working with members?
Well, they're reputed to be criminal organizations. There are a lot of criminal organizations in the world, and they are somewhat fungible in that they oftentimes have a change in leadership over the years, depending upon who gets arrested at the top of the alleged cartel. So, they're functioning criminal organization that exists in a country in which the central federal government, and by that I'm referring to Mexico, has very little control over much of the geography of that country. And so they operate quite frankly, with impunity over large geographic areas.
When it comes to defending El Chapo's daughter or Mexican drug lord Benjamin Arellano Flores, why take these clients? And did it ever make you nervous to be involved with these families and their associates?
Well, I've represented a lot of people over the years. There's bad people on all sides of the border, but we are a nation of laws. Everyone is entitled to independent representation of counsel. They're entitled to all the rights that apply to people that may have far more notorious or certainly equal reputations. So there shouldn't be a distinction made between the nature of the crime. I can understand why people might be repulsed by it or might be concerned that somebody might be put in danger. But at the end of the day, it's just another criminal case in the United States that extends significant rights to all people, no matter what they're charged with. And it's something that this nation should be proud of, and certainly isn't something that someone should frown upon an attorney in the representation of these kinds of people.
Have you ever feared for your own safety or thought about the safety of your family or associates in just even being connected with these individuals and the track records they have?
Well, you could say that about any, attorneys have lots of roles and responsibilities, not the least of which is don't ever create some unreasonable expectation of a result in a case. And it's been my experience with all my clients, no matter what they're charged with, whether it's a crime of violence or just a small financial crime, that you represent them fairly and equally and don't make any promises of a result. And criminal defendants are somewhat understanding of the consequences of their activity when they're found guilty, and they go off and generally do their time without uneventfully. So it's different than civil law. It's more challenging. The consequences are greater because people's liberty are at stake. But by and large, people accused of crimes are oftentimes very charming, and they're the kind of people, but for the kinds of things they're charged with, you might socialize with. So
tell me more about that. So do you think that the average American would be surprised that many of your clients who are cartel members or involved with a cartel, you say are charming and the kind of people you would want to socialize with?
What I'm suggesting is that sometimes overlooking what they're charged with, they're human beings. And if you cut through the surface of their criminality, they're underneath, they are functioning human beings, sometimes great parents, sometimes great brothers or sisters or grandchildren of other people. And so they're human beings. Obviously, in the outside world, in the underworld in which they exist, I'm sure that some of the allegations about the way they live are certainly not overstated, and it's something that everybody should be concerned about. But nevertheless, anyone accused of a crime is entitled to their, effective representation of counsel. And it's been my experience that they're generally very civil to their attorneys, and I don't have haven't any problem in the past, and hopefully I won't in the future.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.